We're just going to be talking about Twitter in general, x.com, whatever you want to call it. I'm still going to call it Twitter for as long as I live, because it just makes more sense to call it that. It's not dead yet, but, I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. I've been doing Twitter for a long time now. I think I've done Twitter for 3 years or something stupid now. Like, actively posting every day. It's kind of good. It's me. Essentially, like, when I started Twitter, it was, like, pretty... I guess it was pretty uncommon for people who weren't streaming or stuff to do Twitter in the VRChat community. It was like you had your personal account, but it wasn't like as big as it is now. And sort of like over the last like year and a half, 2 years, it's developed into something very different for VRChat. And I guess I want to go over that first and sort of like how that community's evolved and sort of become its own thing in a really weird way. I guess like obviously for me, the good morning, good night tweets is sort of where I picked up on Twitter. But like a lot of people sort of like started doing that same sort of format, not saying like copying or anything like that, but tons of people were doing it before me as well. But essentially, like the fact of the matter is like, Twitter became something else for VRChat more recently, where it's like, a lot of people who don't actually do like streaming or content creation still do post on Twitter like quite regularly, daily even. And they really like, it's become a thing where a lot of people have talked to me about this, where it's like a lot of people in like friend groups or just like more community settings now, if they're based around Twitter, a lot of them will just talk about Twitter. And I mean like in a really, I would say like a negative way, where it's like comparing numbers and stuff like that. Whereas like, I'll be honest with you, like if you're if you're serious about Twitter, which will be our second section, we'll talk about this stuff first. I'll get into why like that's not like a super great idea, or like it should be something that you strive to do for a reason. And if that reason is fun, it's great. But if that reason is like recognition, it's like you're probably doing the wrong thing, I guess, is probably like what I should say. Like as long as you have fun doing it, absolutely do whatever you want. But like I have a lot of people who have like come to me recently. Like a friend was like, yeah, I don't hang out with like say quote unquote Twitter people anymore. With and then in more quotes, which was except for you, specifically because like a lot of people just do that. It's like the VRChat Twitter scene has become more of like it's more of like a status symbol where people really seem to care about number. Is it me? YouTube mystery. Hi, how you been? I hope you're not sick. But it just seems to be becoming more and more of a thing of like, it's just attention seeking for the sake of attention seeking. There's no actual like reason they do it. And then you see them have like one bad post, or they're like, I get shadow banned, and then like suddenly their whole life is basically over, for like a week or whatever it is, until they seem to get more attention again. But we'll go into that, like we'll go into specific Twitter stuff soon. But I guess my main thing of it is the fact of like, if you are interested in doing VRChat Twitter, like posting cute pictures of your avatar, haha. The biggest thing I'll say before we get into the actual like how to grow and what to do with Twitter is the fact that I'll say this right now. Zoom for dramatic effect. Hi JPOG, hi. If you're interested in VRChat Twitter and you want to actually start getting involved, I would say think about what you want to do with it first. Posting on Twitter is fun and it's a great way of expressing yourself. But if you are only interested in Twitter because of Twitter numbers, you should quit Twitter. As mean as that is to say, if you don't understand how Twitter works, essentially, like a lot of the times your likes just come from bots or botting, or the fact of like, someone might like your post who's quite big, and then that'll get out there. But you won't, that post might get like 900 likes, but you might only get like 2 followers. The thing about Twitter is, if you actually want to grow on Twitter, it's actually not about likes in general. Like you might have like a couple posts blow up, but you might actually not actually see any growth. Unless you get the sick hack. There's a sick, we'll talk about the sick Twitter hack, but again, that's a very specific thing. In general though, like if you just want to use Twitter for fun, you should though. It's like a great way of keeping contact with friends and like posting pictures with your friends and all that. I love that stuff, and it's always super fun to do that. But if you're a content creator and you're seriously interested in Twitter, you should keep watching, because basically I'll go into like a lot of stuff of like, I guess I should mention this. I currently have 25,000, almost 25,000 followers on Twitter, and I've helped several other people grow on Twitter, including someone who's almost at like 10K and a couple other people. But so you can take my word for it. You don't have to, but like I definitely I know quite a lot about it. So, but if you're serious and you want to grow on Twitter and you have a reason, like you have like a direction you want to go, then Twitter is a fantastic use. If you don't have a stream, Patreon, other website, you know, when you're linking stuff to, or like a business, then I would honestly just use for Twitter for fun. Like Twitter on its own will not actually get you anywhere. You got to use Twitter with other things. It's like anything when it comes to this sort of thing. You can't just do one thing. If you want to grow, you have to grow everywhere. It's very important to make sure that you're spreading yourself out. Anyway, moving away from the weird like VRC part. They should just post boobs joke. Or make a meme. Yeah, exactly. Even then though, I see a lot of really good TikTok accounts. I guess I could name some. I could name drop a few people. Obviously like I think Mop Movies does like quite a lot of really good Twitter posts with good videos. And like I would say for like the average of his likes of video versus like his size, that it's just like it seems weird that you wouldn't be able to like that like the retention isn't there. And it's not his fault. Like he's doing such a great job. But it's just like, if you're not using Twitter like a very specific way, you don't find that growth. Like you find a little bit of growth, which is enough for some people, but for a lot of people, if you're looking to sort of do things like long term, you've really got to do Twitter some very specific ways. And like even then, like it's hard. Like I don't think you could do what Riley DPS did, unless you were making a lot of original content and you're doing it regularly. I think it's just hard to grow that way anymore. I think Twitter has changed a lot since then. But, you know, we'll go into how I grow on Twitter. Take it or leave it, you know. You can listen or not listen. It's always a thing. I never sort of like, I always tell people like, you know, if you really want to grow in something or you really want to learn something, you have to want to do that. And if you don't want to do that, that's fine. A lot of people who ask me questions about Twitter and they'll just be like, I don't want to do that. And it's like, that's absolutely fine. You probably won't grow, but like you find your own way, maybe it works. For a lot of those people, it doesn't work. Sometimes it takes a longer thing for some people. I've talked to a lot of people about this. I know a lot of people who do like Ansley and other funny websites with their CBR stuff. But specifically, if you're not like looking to say grow a Patreon or an Ansley, then I would probably avoid doing this, because you should build your Twitter for your content, right? Like you can do some like suggested posting and stuff like that. You know, like I do like sort of like a nice mix of like that I feel like are pretty like they're still safe for work, but they might be etchy pictures slash like cute pictures. And obviously it's because I do like a mix of Patreon and YouTube and stuff. Like there's like a reason for people to look more like, hey, you want to look at more cute pictures of my avatar? You know, there's a place for that. I definitely am like safe for work for the most part though. But other people, if you're just sort of like leaning towards that stuff, you can definitely go into that stuff. You have to build your stuff. You have to build your Twitter for that. But I guess like the big one I would say is understand that if you're building your audience for that sort of thing, don't expect to be able to take that audience and then transfer it into something like streaming or something else. I could probably name probably about 10 people I know who are no longer friends with me or whatever, or people I've seen in the community who have started on one end of this scale, posting like horny pictures and trying to grow their content that way, who then try to switch to streaming and then have like either hated their community, I won't get into that one, but or have like had like a really rough time trying to get into actually streaming, because everyone just goes in the chat and they're like, show booba. You know what I mean? Like if you build your content for one thing and you're gonna get one thing, you need to be able to like work out where you want to go. But yeah, that's the secret thing. I've definitely seen like a lot of friends grow that way and they grow pretty quickly. But But the problem is like it's hard to like really judge, because you might be getting like a few hundred followers a day or something from a couple of big posts. But a lot of that stuff comes from like botting and stuff like that, which is not necessarily where you want to grow. It's hard to explain, but essentially like unless you're specifically going for like a market, then I would just try and avoid it. Just try and build your content for what you're doing. Like obviously Snaggy's a good person to look at when you're talking about Twitter content, because Snaggy doesn't post that often, but when Snaggy does post, they post very specific pictures of their avatar, and then they post pictures of their booth page. So then you know that Snaggy does booth stuff and they do sweet products, and you can go find them. And that's why Snaggy finds growth. And they sell cute outfits, and you should go check them out. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Same with people like Celia and stuff like that. Like if you have like a reason to like push people to use Twitter, because obviously a lot of the booth community uses Twitter, so fantastic for booth outfit creators and avatar makers to use Twitter to promote their works, because it's just a fantastic place to grow. People recognize you from booth, they recognize you from VRChat, they follow you, they can see when you update with outfits. Big brain, you know? It's big brain Snaggy. Bob Ross stream, today I have Rem. Pog! Yeah. Should go check them out. They make awesome outfits. If you honestly have a booth avatar, you should check them out. They have been working hard and producing some fantastic ones recently. Big fan. Fellow Australian too. Very poggies. Yeah. So I guess we'll get into like moving past your cheat code into how to gain followers, but I would say it's probably not your best option, into how you should actually build your Twitter. I guess the biggest thing to talk about first is Twitter Blue. I made sure when Twitter Blue came out to sort of like gauge a month and a half to see like how much I needed to get it, because obviously like already had like a lot of Twitter growth and was seeing like still Twitter growth for a while. But I'll tell you right now, as soon as Twitter Blue kicked in and they were like, oh, you're no longer on the For You page, I went from getting, I can go look at it right now. Twitter Blue, huh? Yeah, there's a paid subscription for Twitter for being on the For You page now. We're going to get into the nitty-gritty for a little bit. Let's see. Well, this month I got 1,300 followers, 450, 700, 700. These ones won't show because they're too old. Thanks, Twitter. But I believe I was around about, I get around 400 to 1,000 followers a month. And when the Twitter Blue change happened, I went from about like 400 to 1,000 to 60 in a month. And then the next month, while still paying for Twitter Blue, I got, I think it was 60 again, or around about 80. So like a massive drop. But as soon as I paid for Twitter Blue again, it went back up. I think a lot of that probably is also to do with like bots and stuff like that as well. But at the same time, like it retains people. Like I noticed a lot of people who didn't pay for Twitter Blue lost a lot of followers as well, because they were also like banning a heap of bots. Ah, here you go. Here it is. I went from 634 followers to 76. So a pretty big difference. Hydrate, thank you so much. So you pretty much have to get it now, which, you know, isn't like great, but I mean, if you want to use Twitter to grow, it's sort of how it's a you know, it's a fee basically now. You're fine. Ababa. You have to pay for it, yeah. I mean, if you're just a regular Twitter user, again, if you're a regular Twitter user, or you just want to post VR chat pictures for fun, you do not use Twitter. You do not need Twitter Blue. If you see someone who isn't a content creator who's paying for Twitter Blue, I don't know what you're doing it for. You don't need to. You can just relax. Thanks for the rain. Welcome, Raiders. Or, I mean, if you have like a business or something too, you know. The other big thing I'll say is specifically for if you're doing VRChat content or you want to do the same sort of thing, you gotta post pictures one way. You, and I've talked to a lot of VRChat content creators like this in general. A lot of people love horizontal pictures. They look wonderful. If you're doing pictures of worlds and art and that sort of thing, that's fantastic for like growing and stuff like that. But if you're taking a picture of yourself, an avatar or something else, then your picture on Twitter has to be vertical. Hug chat, of course. Quick, why? A lot of people ask like why vertical. It's not just because like I post pictures and I post them vertically. You should post pictures vertically. It's you've got to think about like who's mostly using Twitter. It's phone users, and when a phone user sees your Twitter picture and it's horizontal, they only see part of the picture. Where if it's vertical, they see a lot more of the picture. A lot of people call it rule of thirds. Like your picture has to look nice and it has to be look, you know, there's like the 3 segments and you want like everyone's view to be a certain segment. They're cute, I'm adorable. Yeah, so true. And that really only comes from like doing vertical pictures. Like honestly, it's the same with videos as well. If you're doing videos for Twitter, I mean, if you're doing videos for any social media, you should pretty much always do vertical anyway, because if you do pictures vertical and they're short videos, you can then post them on YouTube Shorts, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. So you actually can grow against 4 platforms rather than if you post a horizontal video where you can only really grow on YouTube maybe and Twitter. But that's like a very good way of gaining interaction essentially. Because more people will actually stop and look at the picture, they'll like the picture, which means more people will come and see the picture and they'll like the picture. So it's sort of like, it's a thing of like, because more people use Twitter on their phone, mostly on the toilet, shorts always assume it's seen on phones. Yeah, exactly. But like, that's the thing, right? You've got to think about how many people are using Twitter on their phone versus how many people are sitting at their computer looking at Twitter. And think of it, and you got to think of it this way, right? Like if you post a vertical picture, people on their PC still see the proper picture and so do phone people. But if you do horizontal, you're only getting PC people and not phone people, right? Like you get best of both worlds in one option. So that's why I always like very, very much when I see like a new person posting and I'm like, please post vertical, don't post horizontal. You're hurting yourself in the long run. The other big thing I see a lot that to help specific people, when you are posting pictures on Twitter, it's very important that you don't overpost. I post twice a day and I only ever post 1 picture in those posts, and that's very specific. I've tried it a few different times and a few different things. You can do some interaction stuff with multiple pictures. I think like, would you like this, or do you think this or this looks cuter? Those are a really good posts to do, but the only time I recommend doing this is interaction posts. Multiple pictures in a post is like pretty damning for a post. Generally people, again, we're talking about phone people for the most part, they only ever see pretty much one thing a lot of the time. So if you want interaction from phone people, generally it has to be 1 photo. More photos make it more confusing, they're more likely to scroll past in general. Again, I'll go back to someone like Snaggy, who is posting like pictures for like an item on booth. That's a great interaction thing where it's like, oh, you know, you see like the product, multiple things. Those booth posts, very good. That's like that's where that stuff works. If you're posting 3 Tell Me Tuesday pictures, that's where you're sort of losing people, because it's like there's too many things to look at. You want to highlight the image where it's like as big as possible so they see it right away. Because people are like scrolling through Twitter on their phone, unless they see a big image, they're not really going to be as distracted by it. And you want to gauge their attention quickly. So that's why 1 picture is much more important for growth on Twitter than multiple pictures. Even if they're super cute and you can't choose between them, pick 1. Not continuous posting. What is it? Consistent posting of good content that's relatively the same content as often as possible, but not too much. Like you don't want to spam every single, like 3 tweets a day. Like I probably wouldn't do more than like 2, just because like honestly that's a lot of work. But like 1 to 2 tweets a day is like fantastic, as long as it's pretty much the same content, but slightly different. Like so people want to like come back and check it every single day. And then you can use that to sort of get people to check out your page. Because like the thing about Twitter is like, if people know that you post 2 times a day and they miss a picture, they go to your account and they go back and look at other pictures too. So again, a good reason not to like retweet too much stuff and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, that's sort of like the big secret behind Twitter. A lot of it, Violet, hi. A lot of it just comes from the fact that consistency is probably the most important thing I can tell people. Again, vertical posting, very, 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 very important. You're like looking for your audience. My target audience is people, it's like a lot of people. A lot of people use their phone. That's why I post vertically, because it just makes more sense. Makes content a lot easier for me because I can post the same vertical content in multiple places, so more people get to see it. Gua. All right, give me a second. I'll stop over. Again, thank you so much for enjoying the VRChat segment. We will switch to Pokemon now. Bit more. Big thank you to all my patrons this month. If you want to help support me with more Pokemon cards and booth outfits, consider subscribing to my Patreon.